Hello, I've been told we are live. So, welcome back. It's the third event of the F1 Manager Sim League. You're going to get quite a few of these over the next month, just because I've had such a busy last few weeks. It's all stacked up, and I want to get Season 1 done before I go New Zealand on July 23rd. So, today, round 3 at Spa-Francorchamps. And here is your starting grid. It's Racing Bulls 1-2 on the grid. Michael Schumacher leading Lewis Hamilton in a head-to-head duel for that third pole position of the season, with Alex Palou starting in P3. Max Verstappen, the man who squandered the championship lead after Silverstone to Hamilton, lines up in fourth with his teammate Isaac Hadjar in P5. P6 goes to Sebastian Vettel, with 8th being held by Ayrton Senna. 8th for Nigel Mansell, 9th for Oscar Piastri, 10th goes to Nico Rosberg, as I'm trying to get up the constructors but I can't find it. 9th Piastri, 10th Rosberg, 11th goes to Charles Leclerc, with 12th being George Russell, 13th then Niki Lauda, 14th Lando Norris, 15th Nico Hülkenberg, 16th Gabriel Bortoleto, with Alan Prost in 17th, 18th for Oliver Behrman, 19th Paul Aaron, and 20th for Andrea Kimi Antonelli. So, question will be, who wins the event today for round 3? We are about to find out. So let's get straight into it. As it's not letting me pull up the constructor standings for some reason. Not constructors, the drivers. But anyways, I'm going to quickly pause so I can DNF the drivers, and then also pull up constructors alongside what I've got. And now I can say we are fully underway. Schumacher managing to get a better start than Hamilton. He's pulled ahead clearly. However, Vettel's also had a good run. He's got past Isaac Hadjar rather promptly. The Haas splitting the two Red Bulls, trying to make an impact regarding he is not in prime championship position after the first race, 27 points back. As there's Verstappen doing everything he can with that Red Bull, getting straight past Alex Palou at the earliest given opportunity, which could be make or break for his championship this early on, as he is 14 points behind Lewis Hamilton after the first two events. He won out in Austria in dominant fashion when Hamilton came second. Then in the sprint event, Hamilton had such a strong weekend. He flipped the results in the standings and will be leading us onto the second lap of 44 here in Belgium. Will Verstappen be able to retaliate, though, is another question. As Hamilton to the inside against Michael Schumacher, poking the nose in, giving it a little try, as Sebastian Vettel getting past Alex Palou, 27 points back on Hamilton in the championship, as there's a safety car. It's Alan Prost and Andrea Kimi Antonelli, the Williams and the Alpine, both out of the race. We can have a look at this now. It's Gabriel Bortoleto on the outside of Alan Prost. A bit of contact made. Bortoleto goes off, and then Prost comes back on abruptly, hits Antonelli, and that sees the race over for the young Italian and the veteran Alpine driver. So, drivers refreshed, the grid back to what it was, and everyone in a queue seeing who will pit is a decent question, and I doubt anyone will, but in fact quite a few do, to try and play off the alternate strategy. You can one stop with ease at Belgium, but yeah, running 16 times so we can get back to the racing as quickly as we can. There's going to be another lap of safety car, so we could be going back underway on about lap 6 of 44. Safety car is in this lap. Michael Schumacher in control over Lewis Hamilton, then Max Verstappen, Sebastian Vettel 4th, Alex Palou 5th, Hadjar 6th, Senna 7th, Rosberg 8th, Mansell 9th, and Charles Leclerc 10th. That's your top 10, and Schumacher has opted to try and sprint away with a lovely stride out of the final corner up towards turn 1. He does not have to do any defending, so Lewis Hamilton will have to sit back, relax, and try and find a new way past Schumacher, because that restart could have been a pivotal moment in this race. However, the Brit didn't manage to get the German at the first time of asking, but going through Bruxelles, the Racing Bulls rather close to their teammate. The team will just be having their fingers crossed, hoping they do not end up getting caught up in a crash, because that would not be ideal whatsoever when they lead the championship by a very vulnerable 10 points after the opening round. They do have a bit of a cushion to the likes of Sauber, who's on 37 points compared to Red Bull 60. So now the question continues: how can Hamilton retaliate against Michael Schumacher? Will there be any hope for the man leading the championship? To the inside, to the outside, Hamilton round the outside of Schumacher, and that will be the lead with quite a bit of ease, but Max Verstappen giving it his all to try and fight it back. Didn't manage to do so this time round in the Red Bull, but Isaac Hadjar poking it alongside, entering Pouon against Sebastian Vettel. The Haas unfortunately does get away with the place, but you have to admit Isaac Hadjar has had a stellar start to the season as a result of what happened in Austria. Just ended up going pointless due to a 10-second penalty, then fought straight back with second in the feature and second in the sprint. That put him up into P4 after the first 2 races of the championship. 2 points behind Oscar Piastri and 10 points behind his teammate. And as things stand, that gap will increase, but Hadjar doing a bit of damage limitation, moving up into 4th past Sebastian Vettel, who's only 3 points behind the Frenchman. So do bear in mind their fight for 4th can also influence how they depart this event. But for the time being, Lewis Hamilton, currently the man to be beaten out of those championship contenders this early on in the season. There's 16 races and 4 sprints, one of those already being done. So there's time for it to all change, as there's Hamilton with a lovely move in the bus stop chicane. All ambition, and it's paid off. But yeah, a 16 event season. This is round 3 with 4 sprints, 3 to come. There's so much coming your way over the next few months, alongside all the legends, champions, contenders and F2 divisions that CRL will be hosting. If you want to join, just find the Discord link or contact Harry B2604 on Discord, as there's a crash. I believe that was Charles Leclerc. Yes, it was. The Alpine getting caught up in a kerfuffle with Nigel Mansell. Just nothing too major, but does give the Alpine a bit of damage in this race. Will Schumacher go back at it against Hamilton, as there's a VSC? It's Paul Aron who has gone off and out of the race. Double DNF for the Williams team. Absolute nightmare. It's a crash at turn 13 for Paul Aron. We'll see what happens as he comes round the fast chicane. Just spins the rear end, goes straight into the wall. And unfortunately for Williams, where they looked like they were such heroes after round 1 with 6 points from both cars out in Q1, back to being 0 for the second race in a row. Another pointless event which will be damaging their title charge, with Aston Martin on 3 points, Mercedes on 1 and Alpine on 1. They've got some really good opportunities to try and break themselves past and up into that top 7 after this race, with Senna currently sitting in P6 for Aston Martin. He is in prime position to do so as well, whereas his teammate Lando Norris, who's been pointless all season so far, only in 13th. As things stand, there's definitely an imbalance in power at this team, as we are just going to speed things up until VSC comes to a close, which is now, and we are back underway. Schumacher versus Hamilton. He's going to try and immediately pounce to the inside, to the outside. He's going to go around the outside for Lecombe chicane, and that is Michael Schumacher up into the race leaders. Niki Lauda picking up some form of mechanical issue, which is not ideal. It'll hold him up in his progress in this race. However, for Sebastian Vettel, the pit stop under the VSC, I believe onto a set of hards. Yes, it is. Leclerc also pitted. He went for mediums. So do expect those two to try and survive the next 33-ish laps and go to the end of this race with what they've got. For Sebastian Vettel, it does put him in a rather nice position if he can pick his way through the field quite quickly. Then we could see the German possibly fight for a win here at Spa-Francorchamps. He got P3 in Austria. He got P6 at Silverstone. Not P6, P7. As there's Alex Palou in the other Haas overtaking Ayrton Senna's Vettel. Got the move done on Niki Lauda. Will Lando Norris be able to also follow that German through against the Austrian in the papaya outfit? For now, Niki Lauda holding in P12. Nothing dropping out this early in the race. The one driver who somewhat has is Charles Leclerc. However, to be honest, he did pit under that VSC, putting him off par with everyone else, and is starting to walk his way back up to the back markers. So, could there be a points haul in range for Alpine? Charles Leclerc 1 point this season, whereas Alain Prost 0. Hence why they are at the bottom of the championship standings. Gabriel Bortoletto 1 point as well, and Oliver Behrman on 0. Therefore Mercedes also tied with Alpine after the first 2 races and 13 laps. They definitely do have some work to do in the continuation of this season. It would be outrageous to see them only bag 1 point after this season comes to a close. However, the 2 racing bulls up the hill, wheel to wheel, and Schumacher holds on and regains the race lead. Verstappen putting a bit of pressure on under Hamilton. Will the Brits yield? He's dropped out of DRS range of Michael Schumacher, so it does look likely that it may go the Dutch way in this race. For now, Hamilton managing to fend off the Flying Dutchman. And now Isaac Hadjar putting pressure onto Max Verstappen. When one Red Bull becomes strong, the other goes vulnerable. And when the other one goes strong, the other one becomes vulnerable. It's just a yo-yoing impact in this race so far, as Hamilton trying to overtake Michael Schumacher there into turn 1, or La Source didn't make it work. Ayrton Senna in the Aston Martin tucked in right behind Alex Palou. The Brazilian knows what he needs to do to get Aston Martin in a more beneficial and competitive position in this Constructors' Championship. He cannot yield that easily, as Nico Rosberg looking to the inside for Pouon. The German somewhat aggravated and desperate to move that Ferrari up into the top 6. He had a really nice event in Silverstone with P6, and now hoping to continue that form as Sebastian Vettel picks up P7 and will start to try and put pressure on to Ayrton Senna as they still go wheel to wheel. Will Vettel actually get the move done? Round the outside for La Source, and now down the hill up towards Radion de la Rouge, and he's ahead of the Aston Martin as well. 2 moves in a mat of corners, but Verstappen, a double move into Lecombe, has took everyone by surprise. But the man trying to fight back for this championship, coming with his fists flying and grit in his teeth. He will not give it up easily now, as the Red Bull starting to pull away. Will the pit window be somewhat near for them? They're on the softs. All 4 of them up front are on the softs. However, currently they do look like they are untouchable in the Red Bulls and Racing Bulls. Then you do have the 2 Hasses swapping around. Sebastian Vettel up to P5. Provisional race lead for him is about 22 seconds for stop, and he's 8 seconds off the race lead, where Charles Leclerc, I believe, is just sitting on the cusp. May not at the same time. However, Vettel continuing to cut that gap down against Verstappen, Hamilton, Schumacher and Hadjar. The quadrate of Red Bull based teams being hunted by a Haas driver with a mission. He knows he could have had a better start to this campaign, but he's started to get his act together here today. The strategy call could play pivotal, as Hamilton now limping down the pit lane, mediums going on. That will take him to the end of this race, as Nigel Mansell also in the pit lane. Lewis Hamilton coming out right behind Niki Lauda in the McLaren, and just ahead of Oliver Behrman in the Mercedes. So use that as a benchmark for these guys are in that top 3 to pit into. Hopefully, if all goes well, they will pit and come out ahead of the likes of Norris, but Hamilton picking his way through quite nicely already. Got Niki Lauda into Lecombe, and I think he could also be sizing up a move on Lando Norris into the bus stop chicane. The Racing Bulls closing in against the Aston Martin. Will he go for an ambitious send? To the inside he goes, as Verstappen and Hadjar, the 2 Red Bulls double stacking again. That failed in Silverstone and jeopardised them from a double podium. This time it will jeopardise them again, but Verstappen coming out ever so slightly ahead of Lewis Hamilton. The Brit thought the undercut would work, but what did appear beautiful at first ends up going into a bit of Dutch despair, as Verstappen will continue to lead for his own Dutch delight in front of his secondary home fans. Bear in mind, he was Belgian born, but family under the Dutch nationality, so he opted to drive under that. I was going through Blanchimont and up towards the bus stop. Will Verstappen go for a move against George Russell? No, Hamilton will go for a move against Verstappen, but Verstappen, just with slightly better tyres, holding off from the flying British driver in the Racing Bulls, who does seem like he is on a pursuit. Verstappen just outside of DRS range against Senna, so Hamilton using that benefit of DRS to overtake Verstappen at the first given opportunity. So we will continue as they go down the hill. Hamilton up into P5. Verstappen will have to make a move quite quickly to retaliate against the British driver. However, for Isaac Hadjar, he is caught up at the very back of the field. He's still out ahead of Alex Palou. So he knows with the way things are going, he should come out in the top 5. Michael Schumacher in the pit lane, he's going to end up leaving it behind Verstappen as well. The German tried overcutting the championship contender to benefit Hamilton as much as possible. Unfortunately though, that did not end up being the case, but it almost goes 3 wide there. Bortoletto, Lauda and Hadjar in the Red Bull, McLaren and Mercedes respectively. However, for Hadjar, nothing coming out of it. The Red Bull stuck in P11 in this race and continuing to being held up by the rest of the competition. Lauda being one of the back markers, having Hadjar right behind him as a man who could have been in the fight for the lead, who's now also being pressured by Mansell and Palou. The Sauber round the outside of the Red Bull. They go up towards turn 1 and out of La Source. Lauda has managed to outmaneuver Niki Lauda. It's alright, Hayden. It's alright if you don't understand what's going on. It's just cars going round in circles and I'm being delirious talking over them. So yeah. But Palou now up next, trying to pick off Niki Lauda, the Haas driver, against the McLaren driver. But there's Nigel Mansell round the outside of Pouon. The Sauber seeing whether or not he could sliver his way through, but unfortunately the send did not work, and Alex Palou now poised to get a move into the bus stop chicane. He'll have to try and outbrake himself to the outside. Instead, darts to the inside, and Palou up into P11. Niki Lauda darting into the pit lane, saying his tyres are completely off the edge. He's going to try and go to the end on them, as Nico Rosberg coming out just ahead of his teammate George Russell. So we could be entering that stage of the race where the Ferraris try and work their way back through the field. We've seen it a multitude of times so far this season, but they've never seen success for it. But one driver who could finally be seeing success is the man in the Haas, Sebastian Vettel, 9 seconds clear of Lewis Hamilton. The VSC pit stop playing off an absolute charm, and now he just has to try and hold on to a 9-second advantage for the next 20 laps of this race. Bortoletto limping down the pit lane, as there's Hadjar round the outside of Hulkenberg in La Source, and another papaya brushed off with ease by the Frenchman, who would quite like to hunt down Charles Leclerc 3 seconds up the road and move his Red Bull up into the top 5 to accompany his teammate of Verstappen in this championship fight. As of course, with the way things are going currently, Red Bull will be losing more points to Racing Bulls. There was 10 points between them entering the event. We could be looking at about 15 between them after the event. But Verstappen to the inside against Hamilton. Hammer time has not panned out, and now the Dutchman is back in prime position in this fight. But Hamilton to the inside for Radion de la Rouge, and back up through up the hill. A brilliant climb. But is the job done there? Yes, it is. There was a glimmer of hope for Verstappen to try and catch Hamilton off guard and go for an overtake into Lecombe. Didn't see it coming, but out of Speaker's Corner and into Pouon towards Fage chicane. As there's a yellow flag, it's Nico Hulkenberg, who I believe has had a moment. We'll have a look at it. It says it's a lock-up. As you can just see, such a massive queue of quicker cars behind the McLaren, and then the front right just refused to slow down, got a bit too warm and too heavy-headed on the brakes, so it all just turned against him in the braking zone. Therefore, these guys' jobs are a bit easier. Rosberg, Mansell, Russell, Senna and Piastri no longer having to worry about working their way past the back marker, but Russell up past Nigel Mansell. The two Ferraris in 8th and 9th. We've never seen two Ferraris score so far this season, we could be seeing that in 18 laps time, as Charles Leclerc has lost the place to Hadjar, but he'll go to the inside. The Alpine being adventurous, trying to fight back against the raging Red Bull, who again fell to defeat through the pit window, where it just didn't turn out his way, as there's another note for a collision between drivers. That's Niki Lauda and I believe Oliver Behrman. Just contact, Lauda spins, Behrman pirouettes away with them. No, it was in fact Gabriel Bortoleto, not Behrman, but Bortoleto getting a 5-second penalty for the collision, as the gap up front dropping to 6 seconds between Hamilton and Verstappen. Yellow flags again being waved. Something else has happened here. Is Charles Leclerc, who's had a spin in turn 19 round the exit of the bus stop chicane, and the rear end falls from underneath him. The Alpine, who could have been on for some major points, outcasted to P12 here today. So unideal for the team that's seen Alan Prost DNF in in 2 of the first 3 races, and then Leclerc spinning his way out of points in round 3 as well. Alpine woes continue as their hope and ambitions start to fade away as the races go down, but Verstappen to the outside in turn 1, swooping past Lewis Hamilton, Michael Schumacher just in the background, 1.3 seconds off. I think he could be starting to get ready to pounce. However, for Sebastian Vettel, 5 seconds between him and the man guiding this charge, guiding this hunt, the pursuit for the race win here in round 3. Will we see a new winner, or will it be our first repeat win of the season? Verstappen won in Austria. Hamilton came fighting back with an outstanding performance in Silverstone. And they are in hot pursuit for Sebastian Vettel. Into the pits, in fact, comes Sebastian Vettel. So the German giving away a chance to win rather easily and subtly. So the fight going back to this top 3, Schumacher, Hamilton, Verstappen. Whereabouts will Vettel come out, though? He will come out 10 seconds down the road and ahead of Isaac Hadjar. So the Frenchman either will have to try and catch up to Vettel on fresh mediums, or just continue where he is in P5 and let Vettel hunt after the 3 up front. I do think there will be the pace for it, but 15 laps, so every last move will have to count here today. Every corner will be crucial, because it's one less corner that he has. 19 corners per lap, and you have 15 rounds of it to go in this race. So who will win? Verstappen, Hamilton, Schumacher, or Vettel after possibly valiant effort? As Hamilton and Verstappen having a little tussle. Schumacher is right into the 1 second for DRS now. As Verstappen now looking vulnerable to Schumacher, could we see a 1-2 finish for the Racing Bull team, or does Verstappen manage to prevent them from all the excitement? Out of Le source though, Verstappen had no response. Using DRS, closing into Hamilton, looking to the inside, not getting anything. But Vettel's gap has dropped by about 3 seconds in the last lap. The Haas is rather hurriedly hunting down these lot who are squabbling away for dear life. It's almost like there is everything on the line today. But Michael Schumacher behind Verstappen still, who is behind Lewis Hamilton. But Verstappen round the outside. Brilliant move. Just what you need to see in this race. Ambition taking over at the front, as we are going to be led on a hot pursuit for the next however many laps, as Hamilton immediately hitting back and retaliating, not giving any time to spare on taking that place back, because he probably also knows Michael Schumacher could be a threat in this championship. Admittedly 29 points back after the first two races, but he was a few laps down and caught up with so many incidents and issues that came his way. And then he did take the sprint win at Silverstone last race, but Verstappen now into the lead once more. He overtook into Los Source a lap ago. He then got overtaken again into Lecombs. Will it happen a second time round? Hamilton to the inside, and Hamilton back into the lead. It's failed once more for Verstappen because he just leaves himself so vulnerable. He takes the place out of the source, hands Hamilton the use of DRS on a silver platter, and the Racing Bulls utilises it to absolute full effect. But Vettel, if you haven't noticed, he's flying 4 seconds back. Max Verstappen darting into the pit lane. He's going for another stop. It's a set of softs going on for the final 10 laps. The Red Bull could be in pursuit for as many points as possible, but will come out behind Isaac Hadjar. Will the Frenchman obey team orders? He has just been jeopardised through the pit stop where he was in a fight for the win. It's now became him running solo, trying to scour every last point possible with so little assistance or priority from the team. Rather unfairly done by here in Belgium. But the question will be, does he help his teammate fight this championship, or turn around and say, I'm only 10 points back, I can also fight for this against Verstappen? Fastest lap, Sebastian Vettel of 43.176 for the Haas driver. He's right behind Hamilton and Schumacher now. Schumacher leading this race, but Hamilton around the outside. Schumacher being pinched to the apex and dropping to P2 once again. So will Sebastian Vettel take the place back? Verstappen 11 seconds behind. He got straight past Hadjar. So his teammate definitely opting to play the team game here today, as 10 laps are now left of this Belgian Grand Prix. Again, will it be Vettel? Will it be Schumacher? Will it be Hamilton? Or maybe even Max Verstappen, as that gap to Hamilton just about to drop under 11 seconds, as the Dutchman setting a 42.2. That's over a second quicker than what Vettel set about 2 laps ago. So the lap times really diminishing, getting so much quicker. Are those two Haas's though trying to survive to the end of this race? It may be delirious, but they're currently doing a good enough job at holding off the Haasman in the car right behind him. The image of Vettel becoming so opaque and clear every single corner that passes. But Schumacher round the outside of Hamilton, he is going to fight to take the win today, but he will just have to continue doing what he is doing putting the pressure on against Hamilton to the outside for Lecombe. We'll have to try and finish it off in Malmedy round the outside through there, and then Bruxelles. They continue to battle it out, but for Speaker's corner, Hamilton speaks triumph and continues to lead this race. Unfortunately for Schumacher, he will not have any glimpse of the lead in that battle. Hamilton standing firm, but again, a bit like what happened with Vettel, that gap burning away behind him. Sebastian Vettel rounding the final corner. You can even see him going under the start-finish line bridge as these went through the first corner. You can probably even see this down there. Verstappen pretty much in the rear view. Nigel Mansell in the pit lane for Sauber. It puts Lando Norris up into the points. Alex Palou also fighting away for him. Alex Palou with Senna Norris in a fight for P9. Norris yet to score this season. He's DNF'd in both Silverstone and Austria, so this is his first chance to do so in Spa. One of the few drivers being born in Spa but driving under a different nationality, as Vettel has broke past Michael Schumacher. It was a long time coming, but for Vettel, he will then go and overtake Hamilton to Racing Bulls in a matter of moments and will get the job done round Radion de la Rouge. But Max Verstappen is right there too. There's about 7 laps left of this race in round 3 of the Cryptic Racing League's F1 Manager Simulation for Season 1, as we could be on for a third winner in 3 races. Will definitely be something to keep an eye out on for the remainder of this season to come. But the question will be, how badly is Hamilton done by in this championship? Because if Hamilton finishes P4, Vettel drops his gap to 15 points. If Verstappen comes P2 as well, Verstappen drops his gap to Hamilton to 11. So the top 3 wouldn't be far from each other, as Hadjar putting on a set of softs. He wants to steal Verstappen's fastest lap of this race. You don't get a point for fastest lap from my understanding in this, so it will not necessarily change anything in terms of the standings. Norris and Senna though fighting away for P8 out on the track. Aston Martin's at war. 3 points so far this season, so their points tally today will triple what they have in terms of points, as Verstappen has got past Schumacher. He'll go to the inside against Hamilton and clears the Racing Bulls. He's not got long left either. 4 laps to try and hunt down Max Verstappen's rival at the moment of Sebastian Vettel, 5.5 seconds up the road. We may need a few blistering laps from the Dutchman. We know he can do it, but he's just being held up more and more through the battle with Hamilton and Schumacher in the Racing Bulls, not helping him out whatsoever. So it looks quite clear Haas may finally seek triumph here today. Haas was expected to be one of the strongest lineups alongside Racing Bulls and Red Bull in terms of demographic. That's proving to be the case, as Vettel breaking the chain of Red Bull powered cars winning. Of course, Verstappen in Austria, then Schumacher took a sprint win and Hamilton took the main win in Silverstone. It looks like it could be going to the American manufacturer, but Schumacher has even overtaken Hamilton as Nigel Mansell sets your fastest lap of the race. He's down in P13. He's not finished outside of the points in either race this season so far. It was 8th and then it was 7th in back-to-back races. So we will see whether or not the Sauber can hunt enough to get those places back, because the Isaac Hadjar are currently occupying that last points playing position and about to overtake Lando Norris for another point in P9. Hadjar still possible to get a top 7 today, but I do think he should have tried staying it out to the end, because otherwise, because if he did that, he would have came home P5. But now he's going to yield places to both Ferraris and have to settle for 7th at best. But interval, with about a lap and a sector to go, Vettel 4 seconds clear of Verstappen, with that top 3 all being separated up. Unfortunately for Hamilton though, it's going to be P4. That's the first race of the season where he's off the podium. Verstappen had it off last race. It's his turn today, but Hadjar to the inside against Norris, up into P8. He could very much overtake Oscar Piastri on this final lap to make it P7 for Red Bull to the inside for what was going to be an opportunistic move through Radion de la Rouge, instead using the DRS, seeing whether or not he can do anything through Malmedy. But despite all of that, there was even a move, Hadjar straight to the inside, but after 44 laps, the early VSC and safety car, Vettel was the only man to play the strategy to its absolute best, so he will win round 3 at Spa-Francorchamps. Verstappen 4 seconds behind, Schumacher in 3rd, Hamilton 4th, but it's double Ferrari in the points and in the top 6. It's Rosberg followed by George Russell. That will bridge their gap in their team championship between them. Hadjar 7th, Piastri 8th, Norris 9th and Senna in 10th, meaning Aston Martin will now go level on points with Williams. Then it's Mansell, Palou, Behrman, Leclerc, Hulkenberg, Bortoletto, and last but not least, this McLaren of Niki Lauda, with Paul Aron, Antonelli and Alan Prost all failing to finish, which is such a shame for the Williams team. But it's all come to an end now, so all the manic has became peace. It's Sebastian Vettel who wins at Spa-Francorchamps, followed by Max Verstappen in 2nd, Michael Schumacher 3rd, Lewis Hamilton 4th with Nico Rosberg in 5th, George Russell 6th, Isaac Hadjar 7th, Oscar Piastri 8th, Lando Norris in 9th, and Ayrton Senna in 10th, with Nigel Mansell fastest lap in 11th, Alex Palou 12th, Oliver Behrman 13th, Charles Leclerc 14th, Nico Hulkenberg in 15th, Gabriel Bortoletto takes home 16th, and Niki Lauda last of the finishers, with Paul Aron, Alan Prost and Andrea Kimi Antonelli all failing to finish here today. In terms of the driver standings, Hamilton leads by 9 points over Verstappen and only 15 over Sebastian Vettel and 25 over Michael Schumacher. It will be a ferocious fight between those four, but Hadjar and Piastri both on 31. They're only 31 off Hamilton. Then it's George Russell 7th, Rosberg 8th, Lauda and Mansell tied in 9th, Antonelli and Palou tied in 11th, Senna on 4 and 13th, Norris on 4 in 14th with 2, Bortoletto and Leclerc 1 at peace. Then Paul Aron, Oliver Behrman, Nico Hulkenberg and Alan Prost all pointless after the first 3 races. In terms of constructors though, Racing Bulls build up an extra 3 points in their championship lead. Haas also taking fairly big points. They're up to 3rd in the championship. Sauber shimmy down to 4th and now tied with the Ferrari team, who sit 5th. McLaren are 6th with Williams and Aston tied in 7th. Mercedes 9th and Alpine in P10. But for now, that's been me, and I'll see you all tomorrow, 8 p.m, where we go to Barcelona. Goodbye.